Hi guys, thanks for tuning into another episode of Nuggets News. We're back with our weekly crypto update with Michael pumping out all that alpha daily over on the platform. There's been a few alts you've covered lately, Michael, on the platform, and even in these videos that have been pumping. So I'm going to touch on a few of those. And apologies to everyone at home. I'm pretty snuffed up at the moment. I think the last few times I've been in the sauna, Michael, every second person in there's sick. So it's a bit of a sign of the times at the moment as well, isn't it?
Uh, yeah, it was the same here last month. I feel like there was a little like a dry cough that everyone just passed around. Yeah, it's signs to get healthy. We'll jump in. Like we've got like a lot to cover. It's funny that the news keeps rolling out, even though we maybe not necessarily like the cycle hasn't worked the way that everyone thinks it's going to work always. But like we had a red week last week, and now we're back to a lot of green. Really bullish upward momentum both on Bitcoin and ETH. Solana still looks like it wants to move. All of these tokens. So I think last week when we spoke, it was just that healthy sort of correction, that healthy pullback. And now everyone's looking at the Bitcoin chart, just thinking this looks like it wants to launch. So, yeah, it just goes to show you just got to hold your nerve here a little bit, and there's still plenty of opportunity.
And still take profits, guys. As I've been saying, just if you're taking a little bit of profits, if you've done, anywhere near the bottom from Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, Sui, all these things that have been doing really well, XRP, whatever it is, at least start to sell 5 or 10% while we're just kind of sitting here at all-time highs. Because, yes, the data, that all our data looks like it's still risk on. It's still going to go higher in the medium to longer term. But if it doesn't, if we get a black swan or whatever, if you've just been taking those few profits and whatever, then you're safe either way. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, always keeping a cash position just to maintain the opportunity, even if it's just for buying opportunities. That's, yeah, the smart play. But diving in, we've had a few really interesting ones this week. So 5 tailwinds that could impact our Q4. So pension allocation rule changing. So obviously huge buckets of money in people's retirement funds and also inside their retirement benefits. US government strategic Bitcoin reserve strategy developments. So there's talk more about this because I know there was a bit of mention last week that this was all just a big psyop and that they were never actually going to do it. But it seems like that discussion is back on. Seasonal gold to Bitcoin rebalancing patterns. So, with gold all-time high, Bitcoin showing real good strength, a bit of a balancing act there in funds that want to maybe average out of gold a little bit, average into a bit of Bitcoin. MicroStrategy S&P 500 inclusion. So that just means that all of the funds that are just there to buy the S&P 500 all have to rebalance and now go buy MicroStrategy. And then the 7.3 trillion of MMFs facing yield compression as rates fall. So again, this is just more like diversification. People look for places to park money, all bullish Bitcoin.
I'd probably just add silver into that one as well, which I've covered plenty of
Correct.
times now. Before it had this big run, I was talking about this particularly, but that rebalancing will also go into Bitcoin, gold, silver, kind of the three safest assets with these uncertain times.
100%. And like US Senate, they've also changed the rules around taxes on crypto. So there's a bit of a tax relief there, which will allow people to look at crypto, look at Bitcoin investments more favorably. And then maybe that just affects whether they're going to go 1%, 2%, 5% allocation of portfolio or 100% like some of us.
Yeah.
So another one here as well, which is very interesting. So Swift obviously has been the incumbent sort of payment model. Everyone's looking to try and, I guess, blockbuster them. But then now Swift obviously trying to pivot and not get blockbustered to incorporate blockchain themselves. And so again, just we would have all wet our pants at some of these headlines a few years ago about the adoption that we have. But because we've become so numb to all of this because there's so many of them, and this is incredibly bullish as well. The fact that the biggest financial institutions in the world are now blockchain adjacent.
Yeah, I guess with this one, the only thing to mention is that they're using Ethereum-based tech, and we also had the XRP CTO step down. He's been there for 13 years, I think. So maybe
Yep.
it's just, on to the next thing. But We've definitely been talking about XRP and Stellar seem to be getting these partnerships and whatnot, but at the same time, we often get these kind of announcements where Swift come out and say, "Oh, we're going to use Ethereum-based tech," or maybe they're thinking about Solana for stablecoins. So it's
Yeah.
that's why we hedged our bets because I still don't think it's clear who the winner is.
I think it's just a good sign to show to not become a maximalist or an extremist in anything. You have to be open to both narratives. Like the XRP army has been proven right in a lot of ways. The fact that the token's done really well and they've gotten adoption. But at the same time, all of the critics saying, no, this is going to not, XRP is not going to rule the world. Well, both things can be true at the same time. And so keep your mind open. This is the strategy that I guess the lessons that I've learned over the journey. Like don't be closed-minded off to narratives and, two things can be true at the same time. So the Trump family, again, doing really well with Liberty Finance here. They're about to launch their own debit card. They've also launched onto Aptos as well with World Liberty Finance. You think that their stable coin, I think USD1, I can imagine this is going to be pretty bullish. Like you've got 3 more years of a Trump presidency and you got Eric Trump running around just like going hard on crypto. So I don't imagine that this is not going to do well. They seem like they're making all the right decisions and all the big moves.
Yeah, and in this announcement, he said making it easier to spend your Bitcoin and ETH for everyday people, but he also spoke about the plans to tokenize all assets. I think he mentioned specifically commodities like oil and gas and stuff. So how does this all tie into this super platform that they want to build and what chains it all going to be on? And yeah.
I didn't include this in today's slides because I don't want to, copyright. But Coin Bureau, a guy at Coin Bureau had a really interesting post or video this week about the Russian finance minister. Pretty much was accusing the US of they're just trying to jump into and push everyone into the crypto cloud so they can just inflate away the debt. And that if they can just balance a budget and then just tokenize everything, then the $35 trillion of debt becomes redundant because we just end up with crypto tokens all over the world. Everyone's using crypto tokens. The US they've tokenized everything. And so $35 trillion just gets inflated away and it becomes not that significant.
100%. I covered that in some of my Evil Elites videos. And I think the one where I was talking about Australia's announcement for money that may expire and just everywhere that this is heading in terms of CBDCs, digital money, and the control grid. So that absolutely ties in with what we've been talking about, using US debt to possibly back all that and inflate it away. And that's probably not going to go down well with the rest of the world if it's at their expense.
Not at all. But I think what it does to protect ourselves here is to get yourself involved into high quality assets, because if the denominator being a fiat currency is just going to get like inflated away into oblivion, all that's going to mean is that the assets that do exist and the commodities and the resources that do exist will just absolutely skyrocket in that denominator. So diversification into high quality assets. Vanguard was always the hater here. So when all the Bitcoin ETFs launched, they were resolute that they weren't going to get involved, and they've come and bent the knee. So again, one of the biggest platforms for ETF issuance and investments now jumping on the Bitcoin train, which was inevitable. They were just being stubborn.
Yeah, another one with trillions of assets under management. The customers have probably already left if they really wanted to get into crypto, but still a lot of money that can flow there now. Yeah,
it just goes to show the power of this juggernaut that is Bitcoin. Like no institution has been able to resist it. Really bullish news coming out of Korea. This doesn't translate properly because it was actually in Korean. I'm on Google Translate here, but effectively Upbit has been acquired by another platform in Korea. And the best analogy that the article gives is it's the equivalent of Google buying Coinbase in the US. So you can imagine like the big tech operator that runs everything has now bought the biggest exchange, or crypto exchange in the country, and they're going to try and make some super app for everything. And so again, just crypto, just consuming the world, the biggest sort of tech platform buying up made the major crypto platform.
But also be wary of that, hand in hand. Same with Elon. You can argue he's doing a lot of good stuff for free speech or whatnot, but if this is all heading towards tech merging with digital payments, and this surveillance system, then it's something to be very wary of.
One of the big ones here as well is we just had the announcements this week as well of more ETFs. And this is the platform that the DTCC platform where all ETFs are listed. Well, Sui and Polkadot's ETF is now already appearing there. So the same thing happened with all the Bitcoin ETFs and with all of the ETH ETFs. They appeared on this platform before they were properly announced. So it looks like 21 Shares is getting their Sui and their Polkadot ETFs approved imminently.
Nice.
This was a pretty funny one. I thought that Hyperliquid airdropped a whole bunch of NFTs to early users. And the earliest one right now is the floor price is at 51K. So I don't know what this is, a resurgence of NFTs or just Hyperliquid showing the power that they have. But like, there's just an obscene amount. Like, what are we talking here? Like, just massive numbers. Hype is at $50 and there's 1,500 hype per NFT that they've just launched here. So yeah, interesting that they hold this type sort of power, and there must be some sort of perks I haven't quite researched here that are associated with it, or it just means that you're an OG hype individual. But yeah, big movements here.
Yeah, probably not something you'd chase necessarily at that price, but you can kind of afford to do a big airdrop like this because those users have probably done so well from investing in hype, the best traders on there, whatever. So probably sitting on, large amounts of money. So they're probably just going to keep this as a little sentimental NFT rather than dump it.
I personally would not do this, but I think what this does is illustrate though is Hyperliquid's market position now, because if you can go back and look, what are they now? Knocking on the door of the top 10, like some real strength there. So just more investment coming from Andre Cronje, who those who remember from previous cycles was, Phantom and a whole bunch of other DeFi apps. So he's got a new DeFi project which is launching, and it's got, what do we got here? Flying Tulip. It's got huge amounts of investment that are just all popping in. So again, those that want to go do the digging here and go and have a look, there could be opportunity here. But these are massive numbers, like massive numbers.
Yeah.
And it seems like it used to be a new week on Nuggets News here. We had a new L2. Well, it seems now we've got a new week. We've got a new stablecoin. And now the new one is Phantom has launched their own stablecoin being called Cash. Again, with another card, just this massive onslaught of stablecoins and payment methods. We really are using blockchain rails to sort of eat the world's financial system.
Yeah, and if you didn't see that video we did with Jason, he talked about the Solana phones and all the Solana cards and all that type of thing. So I'll try and do a full rundown or walkthrough of that maybe in future. But it definitely seems like Solana's done a lot of good this cycle. And this is kind of where ETH lost that narrative a bit, maybe fell behind, because it's brilliant marketing to get that phone out there and have your own app store and all these things that others haven't done.
Yep. Last couple, I guess the other interesting one here was Plasma. So we spoke about Plasma, I think back in April, and it's on the platform for the Nuggets News members, and it's done about a 3,000% up since then. They now are like something like the 6th biggest chain by DeFi. And so like, it's not something that I've hugely like jumped into, but the fact that, the signs were there, the research was there, and they're doing very well. So again, another, like the arms race between the chains is all up and about.
Great stuff there with the 30x. Harder and harder to get 100x's this cycle. So
It goes to show opportunities are still there. And this is MakerDAO, a very interesting play, which used to be called MakerDAO, now it's called Sky, is now providing resource and infra to Solana. So it was always like an Ethereum blue chip. And so the newest star in the ecosystem is Kill Finance, and so Solana's capital engine. So it goes to show that the big apps are not necessarily chain maximalists either. They're happy to float around. So now the Sky ecosystem is getting connected into Solana, into the Solana world.
Yeah, they seem to be doing well, even though you and I aren't necessarily big fans that they've pivoted away from being decentralized a few years ago now. But they do seem to be doing well.
They're a corpo product now. I would much prefer like your Aves of the world, who have kind of held on to their resemblance of decentralization and that cypherpunk ethos. These guys are very much chasing the Wall Street money, but they're going to do very well regardless. So another big week, another big sort of bullish week, lots of news, which is what we love. And lots of things happening.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, thanks for that. Keep pumping out all that research for us, guys. You can head over to nuggetsnews.com.au for the free newsletter, all the research, or our VIP high net worth client services. And Michael, we'll talk to you again next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.